Hello there. This is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how are you doing? So, in this series we've been looking at maps and facts and statistics about the continents. And it's time for Oceania. So big hello to all of my subscribers from this area, particularly Australia, which I have quite a few, and New Zealand, but all others as well. Hello. So if you're unfamiliar with the format of this, you've been recommended this video by YouTube, and you've never seen my channel before, what we do is we look at lots of different maps of this particular continent, including a political map, looking at the different countries. January compared to July temperature, rainfall and temperature, precipitation, biomes, population density. There's an extra one here which I haven't seen on the others that we've done. There's energy and minerals, population and age, bushfires, and drought and heat waves, which is another new one on me. Put in the page. There you can see it in its glory. The Pacific Ocean. Okay, should we make a start then? So, Oceania also refers to as Australasia. It was Oceania when I was in school anyway, which was a long time ago. So I believe it includes Papua New Guinea. I was reading about the history of Australia, and apparently Papua New Guinea was a part of Australia's sort of protectorate territories for quite some time. Of course, this is a curious inclusion into this continent because it's part of the island of Papua New Guinea, but half of the island, this half here, is part of Indonesia, which is in Asia. And then the rest of the island is the country of Papua New Guinea itself. Well, island and islands. New Britain, apparently. And of course, we've got the rather large Australia, largest island in the world. Unless you consider it a continent. Up to you. Not forgetting Tasmania to the bottom. I have relatives living in Tasmania. Hello. The very beautiful, very lovely New Zealand, South Island and North Island. I've been to both, actually. Wonderful, wonderful place. Nicest people ever. And then you've got New Caledonia, which is actually a part of France. It's got FR in brackets there. Vanuatu. The New Hebrides, I never heard it called that before. Fiji. If you like your rugby, you'll know these countries. As a Welshman, I know my Pacific Island countries because of the rugby. So Vanuatu, Fiji, Tonga. I always used to call it Tonga, but I think it's actually Tonga. Niue, which is tiny, tiny, tiny. American Samoa, which is part of the USA Overseas Territories. Samoa, Tuvalu, the Solomon Islands, Kiribati. Again, I used to pronounce this Kiribati, but it's Kiribati. And others. This is part of New Zealand, Tokelau Islands, NZ. Wallis and Fortuna, which is part of France. If I skip this page and we look at it here, we can see all of them. So, the Pitcairn Islands, part of the UK, French Polynesia, that's Kiribati, so we got that far. Cook Islands, New Zealand. Okay, so we didn't do badly. Samoa is here, American Samoa, Niue, Tonga, Fiji. Yeah, I think we got most of them. Oh yeah, apart from the ones northern. Marshall Islands. Then you've got the Northern Mariana Islands, part of the USA. The Federated States of Micronesia, which are absolutely tiny. Micronesia. Palau. And then we've got Papua New Guinea and all its islands there. Solomon Islands. New Caledonia. Yeah, okay, I think we've looked at them all. And of course, special mention to Hawaii, which is part of the USA and isn't included in this list officially, I don't think. Okay, so to be honest, most of these maps are dominated by Australia for understandable reasons. But that's not to say that other places are not mentioned, so it says January temperature. Now, as a southern hemisphere area, part of the world continent, it's warmer in January than it is in July. January temperatures there, in the middle here. It gets extremely hot, 35 degrees and up. I think the middle here says, let me just check, 28 average temperature. You can see here, Tasmania 16, and I think, would that be Wellington or Auckland? Auckland. So in Auckland it'd be about 20, whereas like 16 in Dunedin, which I can't pronounce properly. Can someone tell me in the comments if I said it wrong? And then Northern Australia, 28, 29 here. We're looking at 22 over on the, is this the Gold Coast? But in July, it's the opposite of what we experience here in the UK, in Wales. So it's 12 degrees in the middle of Australia, 26 and 28. So we can see comparatively, because this is the 10-degree line, and that's the equator. So it's at the Tropic of Capricorn. Anyway, so that is close to the middle part of the Earth. So basically it's almost always the same temperature, but with different precipitation rates, which we'll take a look at in a second. And then you can see the Gold Coast drops by 10 degrees. Still very pleasant 12, but still. Tasmania goes down from 16 to 8, so it halves. And then you've got, rather from 20, Auckland becomes 11. Dunedin becomes, is that 6 or 5? I think it's a 6. It's quite dark in here. And I'm going blind. Okay, so as we've done with the other continents, let's compare the difference in heat with the precipitation rate. So we can see Alice Springs, although it actually drops from about 35 maximum, although it could be as low as 20 in January, February, March, etc., July, in the middle, and December over here. So we can see a drop in the middle months of the year in winter, which is weird to me, thinking July is winter. Okay, I'll get over it. But precipitation, rain, doesn't very much. It does decrease in June, July, August, and increases in December and January, but not by a massive amount. It's about 50 milliliters, millimeters, I can't remember what it is, millimeters, Darwin is going to show us the absolute opposite. Now, is Darwin at the top there? Where's Darwin? Darwin's here, okay. So like I say, it's near to the tropics. And as such, the temperature doesn't vary much. It does drop in June, July, May, August, but only by about, not really by much at all, to be honest, about 2 degrees. However, it really doesn't rain that much in June, July, August, but in January, there's over 350 millimeters of rain, 300 in February, 250 in March, and in December 250. So it goes from a very rainy period in as a northerner, what I perceive as winter. But this is the summer months, so there's a rainy period in the summer months, and then in winter it doesn't rain that much at all. Dunedin, however, on the other hand, here, has very equal amounts of rain all year round, but just below the 100 millimeter mark. So the rainfall is pretty continuous and stable, but the temperature will drop from anything between 10 degrees almost, as we saw there, 16 and 6. Port Moresby, I'm not actually sure where that is. That's quite equal all year round, but again, rainfall varies. There isn't anything for Port Vila. Sydney, we got maximums in the summer months of mid-20s, minimums of early teens in the winter, and again rain slightly higher in the sort of April, March, May, June, July, but in general not that much. And Wellington, again, peaking in June, July. It's the opposite of Darwin, and the weather coming down a little bit in the winter months. Yes, Alice Springs is the one in the middle. This helps me out, it says here. I thought it was anyway, but... So annual precipitation, apparently there's 200... I can't see, 82. 282 millimeters of rain in Alice Springs, compared to Darwin, which has 1,400 plus millimeters. It says here, wettest recorded year in Oceania, Bellenden Kur, 11,000 millimeters of rain in a year, whereas the driest recorded year, unsurprisingly, is in the centre of Australia, in Oceania, Mulka, with 103 millimeters. Down here we can see that the west coast of New Zealand, particularly South Island, has a lot more rain than the east coast, interestingly. And that the the coast over here on the sort of, I want to call this northwest, is a lot drier than other coastlines, particularly the east coast. And then biomes. As one would expect, we have plenty of tropical rainforests, with this being the equator not far away, including most of New Guinea. We do have some alpine there, but I think that's because of the massive mountain range going right through the middle of the island. As expected, we have desert in the centre of Australia, as well as semi-desert, grassland and savanna, which is this sort of greeny colour. No alpine though. We do have some subtropical and temperate woodland. And over here on the southwest coast, evergreen trees and shrubs, as well as down here as well. I always forget which city is there. It's not Adelaide, is it? Oh, it is Adelaide, okay. And then over in New Zealand, well, most of the islands are tropical rainforests or subtropical rainforests in this area. Oh yeah, that's the Tropic of Capricorn there. So Darwin is much, much closer to the equator. And New Zealand itself does have some semi-deserts apparently in the centre. On the west coast we can see the temperate rainforest, whereas on the east coast we can see the grassland and savanna, particularly the South Island. Okay then, let's look at the next section, which is about population density. Now, as I'm sure you know, Australia is a massive country with quite a low population. So compared to the other continents that we've looked at, particularly North America and Asia, definitely Asia, there is some quite large density, whereas Australia is not at all. Most of the population does live, I would say, not only on the coast, but actually in the southern part of the country as well. Explained here by Melbourne, which has over 2.5 million, so makes it quite a large city. Sydney shares that population. You can see the square there, represented here in the key. Whereas the smaller box for 1 to 2.5 million is in Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane. Whereas other cities are represented by the circle, 0.5 to 1. There's one there, and I can't remember what's next to Sydney. So that's Brisbane and that's Sydney. It's probably... I'm not sure actually. Gold Coast? No. Newcastle, not sure. Maybe it's Newcastle. And then Auckland is the square, so that's 1.1 to 2.5 million. But you can see very sparsely populated otherwise. And when we look at this, New Zealand there, Australia here, Papua New Guinea here. So it does show that this population density is slightly larger there with the orangey colours. And this is interesting. Okay, I've become quite used to these graphs. Let me just explain them to you in case you don't know what they are. Green represents males, pink represents females. This in the middle is an age chart, so this is 75 plus, going down in 5 years all the way down to 0.4. Actually 4 years, well 5 technically, 70 to 74. And then 66 to 69. Yeah, so 4. So 0 to 4 at the bottom. So we can see Papua New Guinea has... Oh, how interesting. This is the first first chart that I've come across that has more men over 75 years old than women. Usually the women vastly outnumber the men at that age group, universally across the world. Not in Papua New Guinea for some reason. Population is 6.4 million. And we can see that this is a growing population because there are lots more under 4s, so infants, than there are elderly. However, Australia's got a little bit of a problem with the workforce by the looks of it. I say this because there are lots of people in retirement age at the moment, but there are lots to come and fewer infants to replace them. So here isn't a problem at the second because working age is between, let's say, 20. You could start working between 15 and 19, couldn't you? But realistically, between 20 and, say, 65. So there's that. Lots of people. This is 0.246. So that's percent. And we don't have the same thing in Australia. So my takeaway from that is that when this section get into retirement, there's a falling population because fewer people are having children, whereas more people are having children in Papua New Guinea. So we're going to have a population decrease and a need for immigrant workers to come in and help the workforce that are going to be retiring and not being replaced. That's my takeaway from it anyway. Energy, I've not seen any of these charts before, so you've got lots of stuff going on here. Iron ore. And then minerals in this area. Copper, for example. And then gold over here. Oil to the north and in the centre of the country and down here and over there. And then the last two maps, bushfires in Australia. Bushfire risk, so red, areas subject to fires of extreme risks to people. So you've got down the bottom here near Perth, and then all in this section down here by Sydney, Melbourne, and in Tasmania. And then a little bit in Darwin where it says areas subject to forest, grass and scrub fires of moderate risk to people and property. Drought and heat waves in Australia. This is very interesting. In Australia, during the last century, heat waves caused more deaths than any other natural hazards. In 1939, a heat wave in southern Australia caused 438 deaths. Marble Bar, Western Australia, holds the world's record for the longest heat wave for 160 days, from the 31st of October 1923 to April 1924. Temperatures averaged more than 38 degrees Celsius. That's 100 Fahrenheit. Oh my god, I would die. Well, yeah, that's the point. What is a heat wave? A prolonged period of excessive heat and humidity during which temperatures average more than 38 degrees Celsius. What causes them? Slow-moving warm fronts during the hottest months of the year. So there we are then. That is Oceania, Australasia if you will. I really hope you enjoyed the video, found it interesting, informative, and definitely hope you found it relaxing. South America left to do. More flag videos on the way as well. But for now, it's time to say goodnight.